Thanks, Ryan. Um, let's see. So we got a fair amount of questions. The first one, sorry, I'm just trying to figure it out. Okay, so the first one for Julie, um, with regard to the ordinance and working with realtors. As the realtors are often against these types of changes at the point of sale, can you speak to how this implementation has gone with the realtors? And how is this dealt with for affordable housing?
Yeah, and I also responded to that one by writing during the development of the ordinance, which did precede my time at the PUC, but I can note that PUC staff were involved in outreaching to realtor companies and realtor organizations and meeting with them and getting information out. When I joined the PUC in 2009, the 2009 updates to the ordinance had just recently been made. And so I met with a number of realtor groups. They had a lot of questions. We had brochures and handouts and information that explained it, and also used that opportunity to highlight to them the suite of conservation programs that we offered that could help a seller retrofit to replace their old fixtures. So that did go a long way to help address some of the questions that we had programs that could make it a little bit more cost effective.
Great. Yeah, and then this one's another one for Julie that I believe you covered in the Q or in the chat or the Q&A function, but just to make sure everybody sees it. Can you describe the outreach during the development of the water conservation ordinance?
Yeah, with the update in 2009, which I'm most familiar with because I joined the PUC in 2009, we did send information out to all of the realtor companies we could identify, offered to meet with them, met with them, spoke to them, and explained how the ordinance worked, what the requirements were, and also shared information about the incentive programs that the PUC offered that could help with replacement of some of the standard plumbing fixtures and devices. And I think I noted during my presentation that it's not a one and done thing. And so I do recognize the benefit of ongoing and periodic outreach back to the realtor community.
And on that outreach, and so what strategies do you use to provide training, outreach, and educational materials? And which ones or have you noticed are generally most effective for public participation?
I'm not sure if that's aimed at training for realtors or training to, or just in general.
In general.
Yeah. Well, we have quite a suite because our customers vary from, residents of single family homes to tenants in apartment buildings to, complex commercial properties. But, at the most general level, we have, information we link out in all of our touch points. For example, if somebody receives a leak alert from us, we link them to our website that explains the resources we have. We have some basic tips on how to check for leaks, how to make some basic home upgrades. And then we always communicate, if you don't know where to start and you have no idea, just email or call us and we'll schedule a free on-site WaterWise evaluation where we can get you going with advice and help. So it's pretty varied. We have a leak guidebook, which is geared a little bit toward residential and smaller commercial properties, but we have, we can provide assistance to larger customers too. And those who request more detailed water data analysis, we can do some custom reports for them that go a little bit beyond the water data that we make available for customers who want to register for our online portal where they can see their daily and hourly water use.
Awesome. So we'll move on to a question for Steffi. So are there any concerns about the chemicals in dishwashing liquids, shampoos, conditioners, or bath soaps with regard to gray water systems? And if so, how would one mitigate these chemicals so they don't reach the water table?
You're on mute,
You're on
Steffi.
mute.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, for sure there are concerns. So that's what's cool about pre-plumbing ordinances. You make it easy for owners that have that commitment to actually deal with the gray water system. And if they have that commitment, the assumption is that they'll pay attention to what kind of products are they using, and that will end up in the gray water. So that's definitely something that owners have to pay attention to, that use gray water system.
And then to piggyback on that, is that the only safeguard? Is just hoping that the person who's installed the gray water system is going to be conscientious about that?
Yeah, unless you have inspectors knocking at your door and checking what are you putting in the drain line. Yeah, at this point, it's you know, you have to have trust in the occupants of the dwellings.
Awesome. And then another one for you. Could you elaborate on, and you might have covered this in your slide on water offsets, but can you elaborate on and share examples of off-site water offsets?
Yeah, so that was a slide that had a list of strategies. And so the idea is, you know, you have a project. So let's say you're building a multifamily building. You're going to use water efficient toilets and water efficient shower heads. And so you're going to get some credits there. But that might not be enough to offset the increase in the overall water demand on this parcel. So you might see outside of your development project within the boundary of the community and see, okay, well, there are these existing single family homes, for instance, with toilets that use 3.5 gallons per flush. We're gonna replace those. Or there is a commercial building with a cooling tower and we're gonna do a retrofit on that one. So that would be, you know, one application of offsite strategies.
Awesome. And then I think this one will probably be a quick one for you, Steffi. You showed a graph highlighting the peak hot water flow rates for multifamily buildings. And on that graph, Seattle seemed to be an outlier. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, it's because that building is huge. That's the, you know, close to 400 units. And the bigger the building, the bigger is the difference, because there is just not the simultaneous use that was assumed originally in the standard design curve. And so that lollipop chart, the design value for those bigger buildings, they're off the charts. We didn't want to squish everything, so you don't even see the design value for standard.
Thank you. So we'll move on to one for, excuse me, one for both of you on implementation. What are some of the challenges your programs face in terms of implementation?
Well, I'm happy to jump in first. Just overall with our conservation program, it is always a matter of looking at the resources it takes to run the suite of measures. Staff resources are always involved, even for outsourcing things through contractors and regional programs. And so, you know, evaluating that, you know, we can do that. Also, you know, looking at whether we have the programs have means by which we're going to be able to evaluate their performance and estimate water savings is important. And, you know, monitor customer participation and you know, look at ways that we might be able to make upgrades. But I think collectively, it's just because speaking for our conservation program, it consists of many, many different assistance measures, just, you know, being able to manage those and carry them out with the staffing and budget levels that we have.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What are some of the challenges you face in terms of implementation?
Yeah, I concur with Julie. It really comes down to resources and priorities for a particular jurisdiction. And that's up to decision makers, how much they want to invest in any particular idea.
Awesome. Thank you. So I guess we'll go next with a couple of equipment specific questions. Within this context of right sizing, and particularly the indication that hot water use is massively overestimated, can you provide resources for small energy efficiency or efficient water heaters?
I love this question. Great question. So first off, yes, the graph just looks at hot water sizing, but I want to make sure that it's clear that the water demand calculator is used to size the building supply, cold branch, and hot branch. And the reason we looked at hot only is because our partners who shared the data with us, that data was collected for other projects, energy efficient projects. And so it's on hot water and not the cold water. So we took what was given to us. And so we only looked at the hot water branch. But the other part of the question is the water heater sizing. And that's actually currently an ongoing effort that our team with a number of collaborators are looking at what do we need to change on the right sizing water heaters, because that's the next piece in the system. And that's also outdated and there are problems there as well. So I don't have there isn't good news as in here's a link to the model code that has updated rules. It's an ongoing effort.
That makes
We'll
sense.
get there.
Very helpful. And this one's also for you, Steffi. Are there any downsides or risks associated with smaller plumbing pipes allowed with Appendix N?
Well, they're not so small that we are undersizing. And that's why it was really important for us to validate the water demand calculator so everybody feels comfortable as we were advocating for adoption in California. And there is still a good safety margin with the updated methodology. So far so good.
Awesome. Okay, so this one kind of relates to your agency related questions. This one's for Julie. Does the SFPUC coordinate with other water utilities in the Bay Area? And is there regional cooperation in terms of water conservation?
Yes, we do work with our counterparts in the Bay Area. We have done that in a number of different ways. I mean, regularly there's forums where we get together and compare information on programs and learn from each other. For example, I have a call with my East Bay Mud counterpart later today because we're comparing notes on our new multifamily submetering implementation approaches. But we have at various times come together and pursued state grant funds to run programs. Sometimes we're doing that to collectively pursue the grant, and then we apply it to our own programs that we may administer locally. And other times we've been able to have regionally administered programs. For example, for a number of years, we had a regional residential clothes washer rebate program that was administered through a single provider across all of us. During drought times when we need to do extended education, we generally come together as well, look at ways to do education that makes sense and we get more bang for the buck. And our customers don't always pay attention to whether they're our message crosses one service line or another. So the answer is yes, we absolutely see the value of it, and we do coordinate.
Thanks for that, Julie. And then for Steffi, is there a long-term strategy to incorporate the gray water sub-out model or sub-out model ordinances in Cal Green regulations, either as mandatory or a voluntary requirement?
I love this question. Thank you, Bo. That's exactly where my mind goes. Can we, now that it's almost in we stand, can we get in Calgary and first voluntary and then mandatory? And I hope that somebody will pick that up and, advocate for that.
All right. We're nearing the end of what we have. This one's for Julie on implementation. Does the SFPUC staff provide free WaterWise evaluations in-house, or is that something that they contract out for?
We provide it in-house, so we're fortunate to have a team of highly trained water service inspectors, and they'll go out and they can do this for single-family homes, apartment buildings, commercial properties, and they'll take a look at all of the standard plumbing fixtures and appliances, look for leaks, for certain kinds of leaks, like some basic toilet leaks. They may be able to fix them on the spot. They can do some simple replacements, shower head replacements and things like that as well. They'll look at the landscape with permission of the property. They can run the irrigation system to look for leaks and flag those. And then we provide a report of findings. So it's a great service. We're constantly trying to get word out and remind our customers that we do this and it's free. I also just wanted to follow up to the last message when someone asked if water agencies coordinate. I did want to highlight an organization called the California Water Efficiency Partnership. We're a member, as is many water agencies across California, certainly all the big ones in the Bay Area. It's a great organization with really good information if you're seeking a one-stop place to go to for information about what's going on with urban water agency conservation programs.
Great, thank you, Julie. And I think our last question, and this kind of is for both of you. Do either of you have any recommendations for cities with small staffs on where they can start thinking about this?
Well, for water conservation, once again, organizations like I mentioned, the CalWEP, they offer some rebate programs that an agency that doesn't have staff could sign up for and have them help implement. I mean, BayREN's also through the program that was highlighted can provide a resource like that as well. So I would encourage staff who are looking to start up water efficiency programs without a lot of staff to take a look at what those regional offerings are that they might be able to subscribe to. And it wouldn't remove the need for them to have involvement, but it could significantly reduce day-to-day administration time.
Thank you. Steffi?
Yeah, it's a tough one, but you just have to be judicious in what you're going after, and that one of the reasons I've highlighted, the measures I've highlighted, is they already have a lot of resources associated with it. A lot of hours went in to develop resources that help to launch some, those ideas. So that's what I would choose if I'd be small and strap on staff.
Thank you. And we actually got one more question for Steffi. And apologies if this was already covered, but what part of the building code do these water ordinances live?
Well, which one?
Well, I guess the gray water,
So
maybe each one.
Yeah, it depends, it depends if water utility or a city or county is passing an ordinance on any of those ideas. So you'll have to see how each individual jurisdiction is organizing their code.
Which county did you say that was?
Not
Or did
a
you mention a
particular
county?
country,
Sorry.
just, yeah, generally, it just
Okay.
depends who is actually pursuing, because it's not necessarily city that would pursue these ideas. It could be a water utility. And so some of the examples of like pre-plumbing ordinance, the list of the jurisdictions that adopted it, you have some are water utility and others are cities. So it basically depends is the short answer.
Thank you, Steffi. And it looks like that's all we have. So I'll pass it back to Ryan.
Great. Yeah, thank you for everyone for all your questions. Thanks everyone for sticking with us as well, for those that are still here with us. I will just highlight that the slides will be posted in about a week's time or so. Keep an eye out for that, and they'll also be emailed out to all of the participants today. Thank you to all of the speakers for your time and efforts in this forum. And for all of our attendees still with us, if you have any comments or further questions for today's forum, or you want to dive deeper into a specific topic at a later forum, please either scan this QR code or look for that link in the slides once they are available. And for a short survey. Sorry, my brain's tired after 3 hours. Your responses will help us to continue to improve these forums, build upon what topics you want to hear from, and that you're interested in hearing about. And yeah, we definitely encourage your participation in that survey. So thank you all again for coming today. Thank you again to our speakers. And we look forward to seeing you all at the next forum later this year.